I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
And I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And we're the Insiders. This week we're going to be talking about the upcoming Democrat and Republican conventions. These two are bound to be a little bit different than we've seen in the past. Chuck, what are you expecting?
Well, it's going to be very different. I would say wild, but then I realized there's hardly going to be anybody there, so that can't be too wild. But the bottom line is you're not going to have big numbers of people here. I think because it is in Wisconsin, I'd like to focus a little bit more attention on that. And of course, I know very little about the Republican convention. But I would hope that the Democrats would almost immediately after the convention ends, start pushing to get it back to Wisconsin 4 years from now. We're still a battleground state, and we will be in 4 years. And I would really hope that, I think all of us, and Scott's expressed his support for this too, that if we can have that convention here, it helps all of Wisconsin. It creates an opportunity for people to have lifetime memories of meeting Senator so-and-so, or I met Congressman so-and-so before he or she ran for president and became president. Those are great little things for Wisconsin. There will be a lot of economic activity. It will be great for our citizens. And I hope we get that in 4 years. So frankly, I'm focused on that more than what will be a very nice convention, but a very quiet affair in Wisconsin.
I think the two conventions are going to be really quite different, right? Obviously, the Democrat convention is going to be essentially trying to establish a referendum on Donald Trump and whether or not he deserves another 4 years. The Democrats are going to make the case for why Donald Trump does not deserve to be reelected. It's almost exclusively going to be about everything that Donald Trump has done wrong in their mind in the last 4 years. So they're going to try to make the focus on, does Trump deserve reelection or not? Referendum on him. The Republicans, of course, need to make it a different race. They need to make it a race between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And then you want to be able to compare those two candidates. They're going to need to, I think, raise the comfort level of many voters about how the president handled the coronavirus situation, and then swing back to who would you rather have in charge of the economic recovery and law and order. I think that's the message of those two conventions.
I think Scott's right about that, except that I would say this. I think the convention will be the one time and the quintessential moment for Democrats to really highlight Joe Biden and to talk about the positive story of Joe Biden. I think largely there is not much out there yet, even though there have been a lot of ads. I think that Joe Biden, other than he's a guy that we're comfortable with, is not well defined in the minds of many. And I think they'll use this as an opportunity. Let me hark back to the convention where Barack Obama was first nominated. I thought that he won the election. If you were watching that night, the night before he came and appeared, he was on the screen. And what happened is his wife and the two kids came out. And the little one, I forget the names right now. But his young daughter turned around and saw him on the screen and said, "Hi, Daddy." That moment, I think, spoke volumes to everybody in the country. It said something about him and his attitude and his relationship with his family. And I think people relate to the individual they're electing president. I think the Democrats will be looking for a moment like that with Joe Biden. A little bit harder to do with him.
Right.
Joe has a pretty compelling story because of what happened with his son, who was an attorney general, who I think Joe Biden really wished would have been president of the United States.
Or the tragedy in his first marriage where he lost a child and his wife. I think most people, I tell people that story and they look at me like, I didn't know that. But of course, it's 40 years ago. And he's been in the public eye for a long time. So yeah, there's a lot of people need to learn about him.
I think that Scott's absolutely right. And I think Democrats will want to get that story out there. And it is one of the compelling stories of his life. So he has a couple of really great moments. And I think the loss of his son and the loss of his wife, and I think it's the kind of thing that allows people to recognize the empathy that he has for them. And if there's one thing where there's a contrast that I think is favorable, one of the contrasts favorable is his empathy and the current president's lack thereof.
Well, I'm a junkie. I'm looking forward to the conventions, both of them.
Me too. I'll be watching the Republican one closely. See you next time.
See you then.